In the heart of a bustling metropolis, a young woman named Vera navigated the chaotic streets, her mind reeling from the inexplicable events that had recently upended her life. As she walked, the world around her seemed to flicker and distort. The once familiar cityscape now imbued with an unsettling aura that only she could perceive. Vera's journey had begun mere days ago, when a chance encounter with a mysterious stranger had triggered a series of increasingly bizarre occurrences. At first, she had dismissed them as mere coincidences or figments of her imagination. But as the incidents intensified, she could no longer deny the truth. She possessed extraordinary abilities that defied rational explanation. As she grappled with the implications of her newfound powers, Vera found herself plagued by vivid dreams and waking visions that blurred the line between reality and fantasy. In these surreal moments, she glimpsed fragments of a hidden world that existed just beyond the veil of ordinary perception. A realm where the impossible became possible, and where the boundaries of human potential were shattered. Desperate for answers, Vera sought solace in the anonymity of the city's seedy underbelly, hoping to find someone, anyone, who could help her make sense of the strange new reality she found herself in. Little did she know that her actions had already attracted the attention of powerful forces that sought to control or destroy her, their motives as shadowy and inscrutable as the abilities that now coursed through her veins. As night fell, Vera found herself in a dimly lit alleyway, the flickering neon signs casting an eerie glow on the rain-slicked pavement. Suddenly, the shadows around her began to move and twist, taking on forms that were both terrifying and strangely familiar. With a rising sense of dread, she realized that her journey was only just beginning, and that the path ahead would be fraught with danger, deception, and the constant threat of losing herself to the very powers that now defined her existence. As the shadows in the alleyway began to take on a life of their own, Vera felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through her body. It was as if the very fabric of reality was responding to her presence, bending and warping to her will. With a mixture of fear and exhilaration, she reached out towards the nearest shadow, her fingers trembling as they brushed against its inky surface. To her amazement, the shadow responded to her touch, coiling around her hand like a living thing. She could feel its coldness seeping into her skin, a sensation that was both unnerving and strangely intoxicating. As she delved deeper into this newfound connection, Vera began to sense a hidden network of darkness that spread throughout the city, a web of shadows that pulsed with an ancient, malevolent intelligence. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoing in the alleyway snapped Vera back to her immediate surroundings. She spun around, her heart pounding in her chest, as a figure emerged from the gloom. It was a man, his features obscured by the shadows, but there was something about his presence that sent a chill down Vera's spine. He radiated an aura of power and menace, and she knew instinctively that he was somehow connected to the strange events that had been unfolding in her life. The man stepped closer, his voice low and hypnotic as he spoke. "You have no idea what you've stumbled into, do you?" he said, his words laced with a mixture of amusement and danger. "The powers you possess, the shadows you command, they are but a fraction of what lies hidden in this world. And there are those who would stop at nothing to control that power, to bend it to their will." Vera stood her ground, even as fear threatened to overwhelm her. She could feel the shadows around her responding to her emotions, writhing and twisting like restless serpents. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice trembling slightly. "What do you want from me?" The man merely smiled, his eyes glinting in the darkness. "I am but a messenger," he replied cryptically. "A guide, if you will. And what I want is to help you unlock your true potential, before others with far darker intentions find you first." Vera's mind raced as she tried to process the mysterious man's words. The idea that there were others out there, individuals or organizations with knowledge of her powers, and perhaps even abilities of their own, filled her with a sense of both excitement and dread. She knew that she could not face this new reality alone, but the thought of placing her trust in a stranger, especially one who emanated such an aura of danger, was not a decision to be made lightly. The man, sensing her hesitation, took a step back and offered a conciliatory smile. "I understand your reluctance," he said softly, his voice almost lost amidst the distant sound of sirens and the mournful whisper of the wind. "But time is not on your side. Even now, forces are mobilizing to find you, to capture you, to harness your power for their own ends. If you wish to survive, to master your abilities and uncover the truth behind your destiny, you will need allies. And I can be one of them." Vera's gaze darted around the alleyway, half expecting to see more shadowy figures emerging from the darkness. The weight of the man's words hung heavy in the air, and she could feel the truth of them resonating deep within her bones. She had always known that her life was meant for something more, something greater than the mundane existence she had led thus far. And now, as the veil of reality was torn asunder, and the impossible became possible, she realized that she could no longer run from her fate. With a deep breath, Vera turned back to face the man, her eyes blazing with a newfound determination. "All right," she said, her voice steady and clear. "I'll come with you. But know this, I will not be a pawn in whatever game you're playing. My power is my own, and I will use it as I see fit. If you betray me, or if I discover that your intentions are anything less than honorable, there will be consequences." The man inclined his head, a flicker of amusement dancing in his eyes. "I would expect nothing less," he replied, his tone almost admiring. "You have a strength within you, Vera, a strength that will serve you well in the trials to come. Now we must go. The shadows are our allies, but even they cannot hide us forever. There is much to be done and the clock is ticking." As Vera followed the mysterious man through the labyrinthine streets of the city, she could feel the shadows around them shifting and parting, as if in deference to their passage. The once familiar urban landscape now seemed alien and foreboding, the very buildings and streets themselves imbued with a palpable sense of watchfulness and latent power. Vera's newfound senses were overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the hidden world that had been revealed to her, and she found herself struggling to keep pace with her enigmatic guide. The man led her to an unmarked door in a nondescript alleyway, the weathered wood and rusted hinges giving no indication of the secrets that lay beyond. With a gentle push, the door swung open, revealing a dimly lit staircase that descended into the bowels of the earth. The air that wafted up from below was thick with the scent of ancient dust and the faint metallic tang of something that Vera could not quite identify. As they made their way down the stairs, the man began to speak, his voice low and urgent. "You are not the first to awaken to these powers, Vera," he said, his words echoing in the confined space. "Throughout history, there have been those who have stood at the threshold of the hidden world, who have glimpsed the truth that lies beyond the veil. Some have been driven mad by the knowledge, while others have used their abilities for personal gain or to sow chaos and destruction. But there are a select few who have chosen a different path, the path of balance, of guardianship, of protecting the fragile barrier between the seen and the unseen." As they reached the bottom of the stairs, Vera found herself standing in a vast subterranean chamber, its walls lined with ancient tomes and strange glowing artifacts. In the center of the room stood a massive stone table, its surface etched with intricate symbols and arcane diagrams. The man gestured for Vera to approach, his eyes glinting with a mixture of anticipation and reverence. "This is where your true journey begins, Vera," he said, his voice tinged with a newfound solemnity. "The path ahead will be fraught with danger and temptation, and there will be those who seek to sway you from your purpose. But remember this, the power within you is a gift, a sacred trust that must be wielded with wisdom and compassion. You have the potential to be a beacon of hope in a world that teeters on the brink of darkness, but only if you remain true to yourself and to the greater good. Are you ready to embrace your destiny, to take your place among the guardians of the hidden world?" Vera stood before the ancient stone table, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The weight of the man's words hung heavy in the air, and she could feel the power within her thrumming in response, like a slumbering beast stirring to wakefulness. She knew that the decision she made in this moment would shape not only her own fate, but the fate of the hidden world itself. and the responsibility was both terrifying and intoxicating. With a deep breath, Vera placed her hands on the cool surface of the table, the arcane symbols seeming to glow and pulse beneath her touch. As she closed her eyes, she could feel the shadows around her surging and swirling, their whispers growing louder and more insistent with each passing second. And then, in a blinding flash of revelation, she saw it. The true nature of the power that coursed through her veins, the secret history of the guardians who had come before her, and the terrible threat that loomed on the horizon. When she opened her eyes, Vera was no longer the same person she had been mere moments ago. The uncertainty and fear that had plagued her were gone, replaced by a newfound sense of purpose and determination. She turned to face the man who had guided her to this moment, her gaze steady and unwavering. "I accept my destiny," she said, her voice ringing with a quiet authority. "I will stand against the darkness and I will protect the balance between the worlds. But I will do so on my own terms, and I will not be beholden to any one person or organization. The power within me is a sacred trust, and I will use it to forge my own path, to create a legacy that will endure long after I'm gone." The man smiled, a genuine expression of pride and respect etched onto his features. "Then rise, Vera, guardian of the hidden world," he said, his voice filled with a solemn gravity. "Your journey is only beginning, and the road ahead will be long and treacherous. But know that you do not walk it alone. The shadows are your allies, and the wisdom of the ancients is your guide. Go forth, and may the power within you always serve the greater good."